We're in for a wild night.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 137 of Born to be Wild, a Wild exclusive Hearthstone podcast where we have fun, hanging out with friends, talking about the Wild format of Hearthstone and spotlighting members of the Wild community. I'm your host, as always, Nate Wolf. It is great to be back on a beautiful Friday evening here in sunny Southern California. Our very good friend Electric Sheep City will be taking, I don't know, probably about a month or so off of the show because there is a brand new addition to the Sheep family. We've been lovingly referring to as Zappy Lambtown has joined the world. So very excited for the Sheep family. And that being said, I'm still joined by two of my favorite people. Hydralisk, welcome back. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm kind of jealous that you're in sunny California. I spent the day snowboarding, and it was actually raining while I was snowboarding.
It rained here today, actually. I say it's sunny. It's nice now, but it rained all day, which...
Did it get slushy on you, Hydra?
Oh, the clothes are soaked from head to toe. At the bottom of the hill, it was pouring rain, but at the top, it was snowing. So, you got excited when the chairlift got to that midpoint where it's no longer raining, but the chairlift itself was a giant icicle. It was brutal. But I went with Mini Hydra, my son, and we had an absolute blast. So nice. I'm stoked to be back inside and warm and not soaking wet. So all is good.
Right? Better to be dry, at least. Well, and we are joined by a great friend of ours and reoccurring guest host here, Schmoopy Daddy. Welcome back. How are you?
Dude, I wish he was under better circumstances where Sheep wasn't dealing with, listen, his son was born healthy. They seem to have everything on track. The doctors seem to be in control. But, I wish it was like that.
A little bit early.
But you know what? Modern medicine is so good that a little bit early isn't always the worst thing. They have to be careful, but they usually have things under control. So I wish it was under slightly happier circumstances, but I love being on the show, and I'm very excited to be on tonight.
For those of you listening to the audio version, it looks like we have a fourth guest joining us, Murky. Hello, how are you?
This is Tiny Fin. This is Crochet Tiny Fin.
Tiny Fin, my bad.
I don't know which.
This is one of my my Christmas presents that my wife produced for me, which we can, I guess, get into when we talk about our week. But
that's amazing.
Yeah, he's gonna hang out with me for the night.
Nice.
I love it.
Nice.
It's you're just the two-headed Schmoopy Daddy over there. It's the I'm ready. I'm not ready.
That's fantastic. Well,
Those are supposed to be the smart ogres. I've been paying attention to lore episodes.
Nice. Well, we're always happy to have you on, Schmoopy Daddy, when one of us can't make it. So always much appreciated.
Always happy to pinch hit.
Love it.
Well, for those of you joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. Let me briefly explain how this show works. We record this podcast live every Friday evening at twitch.tv/borntobewildhs, and the video version of this podcast is then posted to YouTube shortly thereafter. Audio versions are also distributed to all podcast apps. However you're watching, listening, or absorbing via osmosis this podcast today, thank you. Yes, you.
Yes, and before we get into the main topic of the show, I did want to say a very quick but important thank you to Shokunin and the other patrons of our show. Your support really means a lot to us, and we really appreciate that. Look at those beautiful people on the screen over there.
Can you get me that girl's number?
If you don't have it, then there's a problem. So I wanted to say thank you to all of our patrons. If you're interested in supporting our show at all, there's a few ways that you can do that. If you like, comment, subscribe to our stuff on YouTube, that really helps a lot. Another way is to leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, or your podcast platform of choice. If you're watching us live on Twitch, we do have some emotes that you can unlock by subscribing to the channel, which is free if you have Amazon Prime. There's also some that you can get just by following that are absolutely 100% free. The pictures up on the screen, it's Schmoopy Daddy and Schmoopy Mommy wearing Born to Be Wild merch. So if you're interested in getting any of our merch, it's all available on our website, which is borntobewildhs.com. And finally, if you're interested, gosh, we haven't updated it in forever, but we do have a Patreon that you can support the show for as little as $1 a month if you're interested in doing that. Links to all of this stuff and more can be found on our website. Again, it's borntobewildhs.com. Lastly, we do have a Discord channel. It's an amazing online community. We have a lot of friends that we've made all around the world. Chatting with some of them in chat right now, Cyberon and Ben from work. It's awesome to hang out with everybody, and especially seeing people live here. We share deck lists, we share stories, we share photos, and all kinds of stuff. Funny usernames, and links to all of that and more can be found again on our website, borntobewildhs.com. All right, cool. Well, it's been a little bit since we all chatted, and the holidays were kind of mixed in and stuff, but thought it'd be fun to chat with everyone just to kind of say, hey, how was your week? What's been going on? So I'll share a little bit. Gosh, actually, I think I need to rank up in Wild a little bit. My rank decayed. I'm sitting at around 600 right now. I spent a bunch of time over the Christmas break mostly playing Standard, wanting to get in Death Knight wins, thinking that, well, Death Knight's probably only good in Standard. As it turns out, it's good in Wild as well. We have a couple lists that we'll be talking about later tonight where people hit Wild Legend with Death Knight lists, which is fun. Yeah, so I've been playing some Blood Death Knight. I need to switch over and probably play Frost. I think that it's better. But that's about it. I think I need to do some laddering maybe tonight or tomorrow before the month resets. I have decayed to about rank 600, and I'd really like to keep my 11x if possible. So we'll see. But I was saying, yeah, Santa Claus was really good to me. I got this new microphone. It's a Shure SM7B. I don't know if y'all can see it in the camera here, but it is it's the one that Sheep uses, but it's the nice fancy one that'll plug directly into the mixer. And so when we are in the new place, I'll have the super setup. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, had a nice holiday over here, and Hydra, we'll have to talk later because we got one of those we got a Meta Quest 2, and we've been doing Beat Saber, nothing but Beat Saber for like since Christmas, and it is it's a lot of fun and it's super addicting. So
isn't
anyways.
It? Oh
yes. Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun.
You know what? Did I tell you that my wife spent she made it her goal to beat all of Rod Johnson's high scores on Beat Saber. So she went through and beat got a higher score than him on every single song that he did.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Oh, Rod. I love Rod.
So we can add to the high score game because we've got each other on Steam, right?
Yeah, although we're playing it.
Oh, you're playing through Oculus Quest, the Quest app.
Yeah, we plugged it into the computer to try it out, and it's fine. But I like having the space to move around, and so we can play it in different parts of the house. But yeah, let's talk after because I'm curious to see how you hooked it up through Steam. So yeah, let's do that. Anyways,
good.
Yeah, Hydra, how was your week? What have you been up to aside from being up in the slushy mountains?
I've been playing the ever living crap out of Red Dead Redemption 2 again.
Oh my gosh, I need to do that. I've been doing mostly God of War, but there's so many games.
There is so many games, and for some reason, when I have games that I haven't beat yet, I still go back to other ones I have beat that are my favorites. And so I'm just doing the let's do everything in the game sort of idea. Yeah. I'm not progressing the story basically at all. I'm hunting all the stuff. I'm crafting all the different satchels and trying to kill all of the legendary animals and get the legendary fish. It's a game that's low stress level and you can just chill and play it. There's obviously hard missions and whatnot, but I've been basically no-lifing that game. I put 80 hours in so far, which is a lot.
Wow.
In the last 2 weeks. It's a full-time job.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I love it. It's one of my all-time favorite games. So I've been basically doing that. That has been my life.
Nice.
Schmoopy, how about you? What have you been up to?
So like this last week was really cool because like, I didn't expect it, but like my daughter's really smart. So like my daughter kind of got the concept.
Sorry, that was just
Not
really
like
funny.
that. Not that she's a girl. It's just like I didn't like expect an 18-month-old to like get the concept of Christmas, but like she got like legit stoked for Santa to come. My son was like drooling out of his mouth, like he had like no idea what was going on at 18 months. So like I was expecting like a similarly like sort of dim-witted child when it came to Christmas time, and no. So Schmoopy was stoked, daughter was stoked. So this week was really cool as far as like the holiday was concerned, and like my son woke up. He woke up my daughter. He's just like, daughter, it's Christmas, and she was just like, Santa!
Daughter.
And like she got stoked right alongside him. So like that was really cool. And then like we got to like experience the next evolution of like, all right, so now Schmoopy is opening his presents and like he's getting really stoked about some, but he's like feeling some are using common vernacular like a little mid. And he's like, oh, but this isn't quite what I wanted. And it's like we're like trying to like walk him through like, okay, well here's how you handle that emotion. And like, yeah, all right, so like, all right, but Santa did pretty good, right? And so it was it was quite something. It was very much your typical like family Christmas, which is not something I've gotten to experience yet in a house with multiple children, being an only child. So like that was really cool. That was obviously the highlight. The secondhand story was I hit standard legend with Frosty K. I don't typically play standard, but like I'll play it when a deck feels interesting enough to be like a wild deck. Like I was one of those jerks playing Poison Rogue. Like I'll play Naga Mage. Like I'll play like the standard deck. Like honestly, Spit Hunter looks like fun to me, but if I'm gonna play standard, I need an ulterior motive, and right now that Death Knight wins.
Yeah.
So I hit standard legend with Frosty K. I have a little bit more to that story. If we want to share it tonight, if not, no big deal. But I had a journey with that.
All right.
And then mostly after legend, like what I learned. But just sort of like I was playing wild, and right now I was trying to rank up, and I just sort of accidentally got into like top like 130 with even shaman.
Just accidentally.
Well, sort of like I would say accidentally, but it was kind of like I was trying to counter the decks that I saw, and I was trying to counter them with Druid, and I was trying to counter them with blood DK again for the DK wins and control decks, and then I was just kind of like, well, what if I just play even shaman better than the bots? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm winning a lot. And I ended up around like, I think the one that I posted for Neon to end up retweeting was 112, but I think my actual max was like 108, like
Nice.
one win off of top 100.
Wow.
It's a strange meta right now. We can get into it later, but it feels a lot like day one meta of a new month, but like everywhere all over ladder, and like you can hate it or you can embrace it. I'm definitely embracing it. And there's a little bit more to it than that, but that's how it kind of feels to me. So I've had a really good week, both in real life and in Hearthstone in general.
Nice,
Awesome.
nice.
That's really cool to hear. So what do we
right, well-
have here, Schmoopy?
Where we go next?
You gave me this amazing Void Core little picture here. I'm not impressed with Trick.
Oh yeah. So
Well,
I got my even shaman list got posted, and all right. So spoilers.
It's
If we're gonna
a
go
little
this far,
sus.
spoilers. I took Corvette's even shaman list, and I swapped 2 cards. Everybody knows the totem golems are the last cards on the list.
Right,
They're
right.
totems. They're 3/4s. Yeah, all right. The overload's obnoxious. It's a weak turn 2. Nobody likes them.
Yeah.
So we're moving beyond them. So I replaced one of the totem golems with Astalor because that card is cracked.
It's a good
And-
card. Yep.
and it's making its way into like basically like I tried it in even lock. It's cracked in even lock, especially because you got Raised Dead and you can't multiple copies.
Oh,
Ooh,
It's
gross.
cracked
yeah.
in like it's cracked in basically any list you put it in, and I'm like, all right, well, like even shaman. I'm not original here and thinking like, oh, maybe it goes in even shaman. I remember seeing the card come out, people smarter than me being like, is this an even shaman card? But it really is because it provides so much late gas. Where like, okay, maybe you played a 2/2 on curve, and maybe you played a 5/5 on curve, and you've got no value out of it whatsoever. But even shaman is one of those decks where you can kind of like hero power and pass and wait until turn 10, and there's a decent chance that they can't soak up 16 damage, right? Like
Mhm.
you
Right,
can
right.
threaten and chip and chip and chip and chip, and then turn 10 comes and it's like they die. Or even in the mirror, where like you're playing another even shaman and like an 8/8 on curve that deals 8 to the board. Like all of a sudden you have decent trades, you have minions that don't exist anymore, like you've made a giant. Like it's just a good card. And then I had to fill in card 30, and so I put in a totem. I put in trick totem because trick
It's
totem I believe in my heart of hearts fills an interesting role. I think it's
the RNG rule. It's
spikes
such
pure
a it's such
pure
a
spikes.
like a
Go ahead, Nate. Sorry.
I've been burned by it so
Yeah.
many times that like it feels sus to me. Like I've seen it do amazing things. I've also seen it like low roll so hard. It's there. It's definitely some the RNG factor
Like
for
frost
sure.
bolts your own totem.
Yeah.
So what is this screenshot and what was your experience with it?
Oh, so like I largely found it positive. I think so. My philosophy with Trick Totem is most of the results are positive, or at least like a plus, with some of them down to RNG. Like, do you have more minions than your opponent? If you have more minions than your opponent, then effects that can only hit minions are probably going to hit your minions.
Yeah.
If that's a buff, that's great. If it's damage, that's bad. And I haven't gone through and parsed the whole pool to tell you statistically if Trick Totem is net positive or net negative, but I believe it to be in my heart of hearts based on experience, which is limited, and net positive. That said, it's not reliable enough that hardcore spikes, tryhards, are going to accept it ever.
Yeah.
Um, but it's twice as good as a memer could ever hope for.
Yeah.
So that was like an easy call, card 30. And not only that, like there are sometimes in games where even Shaman is so linear that sometimes like you're looking at a board state, looking at a game, you're like, you know what? I'm not winning this unless some BS happens. And that's when you throw down Trick Totem. Like that's when you're just like, Trick Totem, save me.
YOLO.
And like I've seen Trick Totem do some amazing things, but like I shared with you guys a screenshot of somebody who was less than happy with my inclusion of Trick Totem. Though to be fair, in my original tweet, I said, listen, if you don't have the appetite for Trick Totem, a cage match custodian to draw a weapon from the deck, which is around Totem Golem as far as levels of like mid gameplay. We're just like, all right, really, we're making a 2/2 and drawing 1/2. This is what we're doing as even shaman. Not terribly
Yeah,
powerful. You're not happy about it, but it's all right.
the chisel's so good though that like, you
You,
want it.
Yeah.
right. It's probably worth. In fact, I've seen a user who's a friend of mine who has listened to the podcast from time to time, Zephyrus, um, cut a splitting axe and had cage match custodians so that he could get chisel more often,
Mm.
which I think is one of those like genius deck building things that like further down the line, if even shaman has to evolve in some way, is a really interesting line to pursue. Like, what if splitting axe isn't good enough? So I thought that was clever because chisel is that important for the deck.
Yeah.
That like cage match custodian might be worth. Doc BOMD big brained me and suggested evil totem, which I think is genius because the lackeys that you produce can get buffed by the anchor tide totem, which is the other cracked card in the deck.
That's right.
So like I Yeah, I found myself amongst a sea of pirate rogues and even shamans, very few of whom were human, and which is something we can talk about later in detail if we want. But basically, I took even shaman after trying to farm them with a bunch of control decks at around rank 600, getting up to 400, falling back down to 600, 700, 800, being like, all right, enough's enough. Let's just play the good deck. And the good deck has got me pretty far in what is I would say, a pretty low skill entry meta right now.
It
Well,
is the good deck. And it's not. I like that you have a couple like different cards in there, some different styles of doing it because one could argue that it's the simple, meta deck that anybody can play, but it wins. It's so much fun too. So I like winning.
and winning is fun.
And Axlor, honestly, Axlor is so good. I've seen it swing so many mirrors. It's not close.
Yeah, that one is like an auto include. That's the only card that I have crafted in gold. I think this expansion was like the day one insta gold upgrade because I knew it was gonna be good. It's just it's Denathrius without any downside. Like I don't know.
I
Whatever.
haven't pulled the trigger on that one yet because I'm still missing, I think, 3 legendaries from the set, and I haven't dusted
Uh,
anything either. So
you
I don't.
may you may as well wait because here's what's gonna happen.
Wait for nerfs, yeah.
Yeah, they'll
Nerfs
nerf
too.
Astalor instead of rotating Brand because Brand's a big problem, but they don't want to touch Brand,
It's
and
true.
so they'll hit Astalor instead. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Oh, and
The writing is on the wall. I've lost so many games to like Bran, Astalor. Like and Druid is another issue, but it's the brand that is keeps doing it.
yeah.
And in wild I don't care, but in standard it's obnoxious. So
I'm sitting like right on the cusp. I should have been recording like on a spreadsheet or something when I'm supposed to be hitting my pity timer. But like I keep every 100 gold I get, I'm like buying a pack, and I don't remember the last one I got. But as soon as I get one more, I'm stopping, and I've got enough dust that I could just craft the other 2 legendaries that I'm missing. But I just don't know when it's gonna happen, man.
well, soon hopefully.
You're trying to min max. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a tiny bit of news.
Yes. And I don't have the drop queued up, so I can't sing it for you.
Yeah, I mean,
Unfortunately.
you could.
Good.
Yeah, serenade us. I mean, or I'll add it in post.
Just add it in post because I didn't with the stream setup.
The news is so good.
There we go. Perfect.
Big over the train.
Oh, that's amazing. All right.
Big.
So everyone seems to like this one, right? You like the Mal'Ganis new skin?
So these new skins are cool. I wish that they did more stuff. Like I wish that they animated or did something cool. But yeah, they're good. Mal'Ganis is the warlock skin that I've been waiting like 5 years for. It like iconic warlock character. So having warlock be able to be Mal'Ganis is awesome. Really cool. It's a bummer when I see these skins and they're static. Like I want it to be animated or something. But it's very cool. I like it. I don't need the packs, so I'm sitting on the packs. But I like the skin quite a bit. Did want to let people know we had somebody in the Discord. I don't recall who. I should look it up real quick. Mentioned that there were special voice lines, and so I looked them up. It was Java. So shout out to Java. I think Schmoopy Daddy posted it in our Discord. Java, friend of the stream, found all the hidden interactions with Mal'Ganis, and I found one more. But if you go to the Hearth SFX website, there's a link in the show notes if you want to check it out. But you can see all the voice lines for the different cards and heroes and stuff in the game. So Mal'Ganis has special voice lines when played against both Prince Arthas as a paladin and Sire Denathrius as a warrior. If either of those skins are queued up, they're special voice lines. And then when any of the following cards are played, there's special voice lines. So Corruption, The Dark Portal, Fellfire in the Hole, Twisting Nether, Twisting Tether, and Darkest Hour. Special custom voice lines for Mal'Ganis, which is pretty cool. Um, and it looks like there's a little meme down here. What is this about?
This was made in Swag's Discord by another user about Java being excited for this hero skin because he basically like instead of doing the smart thing, which would be like to go through all the files and like figure out the interactions, he just straight up like hardcore, just I think just like ground through all the Warlock cards because he's a Warlock main. And so like he found them all manually.
Oh my
And
gosh!
so
Wow.
Wow.
and so this is a Java approved meme about Java of basically like that internet meme of like, oh, the dude like at every formal occasion he's wearing PJs, and then uh, and then
New skin drops.
Java when they release a slightly above average Warlock skin in parentheses not is not Mimsy, and it's the dude in a suit, same dude in a suit, except it's Mal'Ganis' head on top of it.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
So it was very funny because I know we've joked multiple times on the show about like, oh man, new Warlock skin, and like I post that it's like Nazoth Mimsy or what Mimzoth or whatever, and it's
Yes.
like, oh
It's
yeah,
always Nimsy.
new Nimsy skin dropped, great. So it's really cool that they actually came out with a skin that's not Nimsy, but not only that, like it sounds like it's a cool skin, and I love the card interactions. I love when you know these skins have interactions with cards that you might play in Wild. Like my favorite all time is like the first KT skin they made for Mage, and like you play Frost Nova, and it's just like try to be patient, which is so BM, but very cool. And I haven't heard any of the Mal'Ganis ones yet, but I imagine like they do a good job on them. I imagine they're cool.
They're
So
good.
I'm excited.
I posted the link in our show notes, and I'll put it in chat right now. There's a way to find out all of these super easy without doing any of the digging. If you go to the Hearth SFX website and pull up the hero and scroll to the bottom, it'll show you all their custom interactions. And so you'll have to let Java know. There's one more that he missed with Denathrius. There's an interaction with them.
That's cool. That's cool. Which we know from the lore episodes makes sense because Sarah Denathrius is his boss. So like that's cool. So
very cool though. I love it. Then the meme is so great. It's spot on.
Thank you, Goliath, for.
Because it's not just Java. That's every Warlock main. Like every Warlock main is happy about this. Nate, I know you're included in there.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I love it. And then we have one other bundle or a new portrait as well.
Sally Whitemane.
Yeah, so we'll have to do a lore episode on this one. Like, this is an iconic character, and all the fanboys like freak out, but I don't know who this character is at all. So we'll have to do like a lore episode to find out. But she's a priest, I suppose, right? So priest skin, Sally Whitemane comes with 5 packs, 1,000 runestones, or $9.99 US. There's also special voice sounds for her character as well. Quite a bit more actually. So there's special voice lines when played against the following heroes. So as Paladin, Prince Arthas; as a Mage, Jaina Proudmoore; as Warlock, Mal'Ganis. I guess is another Paladin, right? The Felled or Fallen Yrel.
Yeah.
And then Death Knight, Arthas Menethil. There's custom voice lines for those. And then when the following cards are played, there's also custom voice lines. So it's Condemn, Amulet of Undying, Deliverance, Holy Smite, Holy Nova, Animate Dead, and Mass Resurrection. So quite a bit of custom voice sounds.
Who figured this one out? Did someone else do, man?
No, I did. Because so there's a trick though. If you go to the Hearth SFX website, it's kind of cute. But if you go to the website and you select the hero, and then there's the sounds for all the gameplay, all the emotes, all the errors, and all the holidays. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, it's a special, and it'll show you all the custom voice lines for any other cards, and it'll show you all the different interactions. So you could do. I mean, you could do this with any of them. There, if I want to look at, I don't know, here's Darian Mograine, right? Is the what do you get for level 50 as a Death Knight? Um, Skin. And so if I click on this when I go to the website, like, oh, cool, are there any special ones? Actually, there are. There's custom voice lines when you play against Kel'Thuzad as the mage. There's special voice lines against Sylvanas as the hunter. Special lines against the Lich King. And then custom voice lines for Grave Strength, Rune Forging, Anti-Magic Shell, Army of the Dead, the Scourge, and Dark Transformation. It's like, oh, that's cool. And you could do that for any of these. Some of them have them, and some of them don't. Some of them have a bunch that you wouldn't expect. Um, and so, yeah, the Lich King has a whole bunch of them. But anyways,
I always love it when you get like caught off guard by one. Like you queue into a game and you're going up against some other skin and it says something different than you're normally used to. It's just
and way back,
that added touch.
Way back in like vanilla Hearthstone, it was always so funny when they'd release something and you'd be like, oh, Druid versus Priest, and she'd say, my beloved Malfurion, and it'd say, my dearest Tyrande, and it was like, oh, that's cute. And it didn't seem like there were so many, but I'm starting to realize now, especially with the larger card pool, like there's tons. So it's pretty fun.
Schmoopy, that Murloc is so distracting. I can't help but laugh at it.
She did a great job on that. I love it.
Dude, like, so it was, I think I said this, it was one of my wife's students who made it. And she'd always crochet in study hall, I guess. And my wife's covering a study hall, and she'd be like, oh my God, you're talented. Could you make this thing for me? And the student's like, well, I can't do business on school grounds. But I'll totally make it for you. Yeah. And so my wife bought the yarn, and the student just popped off, and like he's just like he's so doofy and like perfect.
It's incredible. I love it.
So he's gonna be hanging out with me for this stream. Sorry to derail things.
No, you just showed. You just have him sitting there, and it just makes me laugh.
Yeah, I mean, he's so good. Like my kids love him too.
Yeah.
My son's like, can I spend some time with Tiny Finn? Like, yes,
Tiny Finn is definitely the cutest Murloc.
Yes.
She knocked it out. How do we like the high main skin though?
I haven't played with it yet. I don't know. I mean, looks cool to me, but there's so many now, right? That like, unless they do something like incredible, there's just like so many of them that they are kind of losing meaning for me, I guess. And
yeah, I stopped. Like when it's cash money now, like I sort of stopped buying them just because there's so many all the time. And
you have to stand out, right? I feel like this one is very like not like I think it's funny because there's a huge internet following that is just like that just drools over Sally Hymain as a character, right? And I didn't find the portrait particularly like pretty, so like I don't know if they're necessarily satisfied. That crew.
I don't know.
And it comes down to the emotes and the interactions, right? Like, is that cool enough? Whereas Mal'Ganis is just kind of like,
I'm just thank God it's not another Nemsy portrait.
Right. But it's like it's Mal'Ganis almost like they just like cut off the top portion of the card and made that a hero portrait. It's like it's a very like it's a very conservative Mal'Ganis portrait. So like I felt a lot better about that one than the high main one, but I felt compelled to get the high main one just because I was just like, there are so many people who have been clamoring for a Sally high main portrait. I feel obligated to get this, even though this might not satisfy that group.
Those same people are going to yell at you because it's white main, not high main.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, I just had to mention it before.
I've made that joke, but like yeah. I made that joke watching, reading Discord. So my brain is automatically wrong.
That's hilarious.
That's so funny. We were talking about this offline before the show started. I think the 3D portrait idea is cool, but the two 3D portraits that we have kind of suck. You guys were saying that they're kind of staggered, so that when you like the animations they don't
there's like a delay.
Sync up. Yeah, they don't sync up with the attacks and the
there's like a hesitation.
Swing with the weapon or whatever. Like, yeah.
It's like, ow! Did you really hit me? Like you did it after?
What I was saying was, like, I was so impressed when they did the March of the Lich King trailer. It was all fully animated, which they usually don't do. Usually it's like, I don't know what you want to call it. Like, it's like animation frames that are like, there's like a little bit of animation, but not a lot. But this time it was like fully animated trailer.
Like a stop motion kind of thing.
Yeah,
they usually do.
But this time it was incredible. It was like fully animated, and I was like, wow, they should put out a cartoon. Like, I would totally watch it. It'd be amazing. And my thought was, hey, if you guys did animated portraits that looked like the trailer, they'd be selling like hotcakes. They're amazing. And instead they put together these like 3D crappy like Warcraft 3 renders and then sell them for $25, and it's like they're just not good. They don't look good. The frames are all chunky, so they like stick out onto the board, and in typical Warcraft style, it's like the giant shoulder pads with sticking like stuff everywhere, and it's
I think the frames are a bit much. The frame seems to block a lot of the image.
It does. I don't like the frames at all. And so, it's a neat idea. It reminds me of the signature cards, right? Cool idea, poor execution. But
maybe
first time, in both cases, first time doing it, right? Like,
yeah.
We're gonna hope that they take feedback, and like we're assuming that Sylvanas was probably in the making at the same time as Arthas. Arthas came out earlier because of theming and marketing and whatever. So like we're gonna hope that they probably take, and they have to be fair, the devs have been very good at taking feedback and then making adjustments into them. And they even said that about the signature cards, about how they're going to probably make them a little bit more vibrant next time around, just because they were trying to match the theme of the set with these, but they look like great blobs, especially to me playing on mobile, because like the image isn't big
tell
already.
What the card is. Yeah,
I can't tell what the card is. Like unless I've memorized what minute details of this particular gray blob is.
Yeah, they look like Han Solo and Carbonate. That's what they look like. They're
and it's unfortunate because like some of them are really cool. So
I have high hopes. The devs do listen to our feedback. Did you guys notice how much easier it was to complete the Wintervale special event than it was the like Hollow's End one?
No.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
Instead of getting a quest that was worth 30 points, they're like worth 250.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Good.
Yeah, like
good.
Way easier to complete. Like I did it by accident, like not even trying.
Good.
The other ones, because I was trying to do it, on all three servers, like an idiot. It was really difficult to do, like because I didn't have a lot of the cards and stuff. I'm trying to do it on the other ones. And so
it's really cool they offer them at all, though, right? Like the fact is that going to be a thing? Are we going to have like a themed quest that we're constantly kind of like every like 2 to 4 weeks like following through and searching for? Like that's great value for a free to play player. Like if I'm a free to play player, I feel good like I'm making progress in the game if I'm completing that constantly. Like I like that, and that's come out of nowhere, right? Like I haven't seen that as something that they've tabled before or people have been clamoring for. It's just a thing they started doing. So I think it's really, like, even if it did get easier, Hydra, like even the first one sucked, like, it's nice they were doing it in the first place, honestly.
Oh, totally. Like it's free things. It's a free event. You get these skins. That's why sometimes I don't want to say this out loud, but compelled to buy the ones that cost money, because they're doing so much giving us these free ones. And I really do appreciate it, except for when I have to play a certain amount of Mana Thirst cards when I only own like 2 Mana Thirst cards.
Just cracked Astalor.
I'm telling you, that's where all mine are coming from. Yeah, I just Astalor because most of them suck, but
just crack Astalor and you'll be fine. Like play a deck with Astalor, any of the decks. Play a deck with Astalor in it for like a couple days, you'll hit it fine. It was the
It's a
strangest thing. I nailed
super
it with
safe.
Even Shaman. I was like, in like a day, I was like, okay.
It's a very safe craft for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if I have Astalor on Erasure. I'd have to double check, but yeah, that's kind of the ones that you're just gonna want to have anyway, even if I haven't opened that card.
If you craft it and it gets nerfed, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I still have 1600 dust.
Yeah. No big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Well, should we move on to our special topic?
Yeah, and it's not really a special topic per se, but I was thinking about, like, I've been playing a lot of Death Knight lately, and my thought initially was like, wow, I bet Death Knight sucks in Wild. Like, I'm just gonna play it in Standard because all the cards are Standard cards. That being said, Gen and Baku work for Death Knight, and then I saw these two posts over the past week of two different people that I know who hit Legend with Death Knight in Wild. So the first is High Lung, and they both used a similar build, but they're a little bit different. So I thought we'd just feature them both. Um, they're even Death Knights,
Even
triple.
Unholy, right?
Yeah, even Unholy. They're both even Unholy. So that's the three green skulls. Unholy, even Death Knight. So Heilung had 62% win rate. He went 85 and 53 to Legend with this even list here. I it, I don't really know what to say about it. It looks like it's cracked though, right? With the hero power only costing one instead of two, so you have something to do on turn one. I love the hero power, and because the card pool of undead is relatively small, or Death Knight cards even is relatively small, the discover effects are usually pretty good, and so cards like school teacher or any of the discover type things are pretty good.
Yeah.
Amalgam of the Deep is in here.
Uh,
And I never. I mean, it's kind of a zoo deck, right? Like your aggro zoo style. He's got two copies of Knife Juggler in here, which is crazy. Mana Feeder Panthara to draw cards because you're hero powering every turn.
that makes
But like
sense.
Frenzied Fellwing for the same reason that we put it in Pirate Road because it's a
Good.
0 mana 3/3. I mean,
I mean, Knife Juggler makes sense, right? Like when your hero power gives a dude, then
yeah.
That's
And then,
Sorry, go ahead.
I haven't tried it personally. Like I saw it and I bookmarked it to try later, but I don't know. It looks fun. It's got Invincible and Lord Marigar on the top end, and so and then Rebobble or Rebobson, Rebobble. That's his Twitter. Is Rebobblehead, which is great. But Rebobson, he was on our show back when we were on Into the Wild. It came on several times, but did a similar climb. He said went from Diamond 4 entirely with with even Unholy Death Knight. He says deck is actually super legit. There's no other aggro deck which can deal with the amount of rush and removal, and Grave Strength is an absurd finisher which constantly surprises me with how much damage it puts out. And so very similar list. It's got Astalor because why not,
Why not?
right? Running a couple of Cult Neophytes because that's a great card. Trying to see what else is in here. A couple copies
It
of
runs a couple of corrupting
Murlocula.
cards, which is really interesting. Like it runs Murlocula, which you get free pretty quickly. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like a free 0 mana spider tank
Oh.
with lifesteal, which is good for a deck that wants to board flood.
I've also
It runs the Priest the Feast. Is that what it's called? It's a 2 mana card that comes down as a 4/5 taunt if you infused it enough. So like it I like the Rebobston list more than the first list because it feels like it's taking advantage of cards that are like, really good arena cards or like, just decent cards that like maybe don't have a home, like good cards that don't have a home and gives them a home.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like I look at the Rebob list and I'm like, yeah, I can get into this a lot more. Like I can see this working more than the first list. The first list feels like a Chinese theory craft that somebody just saw through TNs. Because I don't know if you guys have played Amalgam of the Deep, but like
Not
the
in this list, but
the undead pool is the second largest only to Beast when it comes to discovers. So I actually actively despise Amalgam of the Deep in any kind of Death Knight list looking for undeads, because you could get a Wisp, you could get just three
especially
useless
in
cards,
Wild,
get a Cleaning
yeah.
Banshee. Like you can get, there's so many undeads that are just like, especially in our card pool in Wild, it doesn't make sense. It makes a lot more sense in Standard, where it's a little bit more curated. Maybe you're more likely to get one of the Death Knight undeads that are good.
Right.
I'd say the other deck that's the other card that's cracked in both lists, I believe both had this, was the Vicruel Necrolite, the 2/2 that assigns a minion, if this minion dies, generate a 2/2 undead rusher.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Not
card is
only does it
cracked. Yeah,
not only does it make an extra corpse, but like you attach it to a ghoul, you go face with the ghoul dies at the end of the turn. Now you have a 2/2 left behind, and that leaves 4 power to make a Fell Wing free. So like I haven't played either of these lists. I've actually played like more Frost Even DK, which I didn't think was good enough to feature this week.
next week.
Maybe next week. Maybe next week. But like you can start seeing it line up when you start picking some of these neutral cards that are like on the borderline of being good, but they need a home.
I love School Teacher.
School Teacher's cracked. School Teacher's awesome just because the 3 to 1 mana pool spells that you're looking for, you can almost always guarantee that you're going to get something that removes a 3 health minion.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's going to get you a rusher, sometimes it's going to get you a corpse, sometimes it's going to get you a frost card. Sometimes you're going to get asphyxiate, which is going to kill the highest attack minion on your opponent's board. Sometimes it's going to get you a glacial advance, which is going to deal 4 damage to something and reduce your next spell cost by 2. Like School Teacher,
it's so good.
All these Discover cards are in a really good spot right now. Venomous Scorpid, Pandaren Importer, School Teacher. One of the strengths in Wild of Death Knight is the fact that the Discover pool is so small, you can look for specific cards in specific situations.
Yeah.
Next expansion, Death Knight is going to be much worse in Wild.
Yes.
Because the options are going to be greater and the outcomes are going to be less certain, and you're not going to be able to rely on getting certain cards in certain situations, and it's just going to make the class more awkward as a whole. So, like, if you want to get wins in, get them in now while they're good. Uneven Holy, I kind of dismissed because I thought the draw was too bad. But looking at Robobson's list, it makes a lot of sense. You're dumping your hand more efficiently. You're creating a lot of stats big time more efficiently. You've got a 4 mana Bloodlust because you make corpse efficiently. The corpse cost for the what was that card called, Nate? The finisher, the 4 mana spell that gives +3 attack.
Oh, Grave Strength.
Grave Strength, like
that card is pretty gnarly. Yeah.
Knock a mana off a Bloodlust. See how often it gets into a Shaman deck. Like it looks good on paper. I believe that deck could be good. I haven't gotten to play it yet because I'm kind of in like fun zone jail, try harding as much as I am. But like I could see it 100% on paper.
We'll do some homework this week, and honestly, the month is about to reset. Like the perfect time to play this stuff that's like an experiment is right when the month cycles. And so we're recording today on the 30th of December. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve, and then on Sunday, the 1st of the month, like there you go play it then, and when your rank doesn't count quite as much, it's like great timing. So,
and I tell you what, even Death Knight into Pirate Rogue is a really interesting matchup because the 1 mana hero power immediately cancels out the Fillet Fighter. So like they play a Fillet Fighter turn 1, you're on the coin, you just hero power, you kill the 1/3. Now they just have patches on board, or they're noobs and they drew patches, and like you can start building from there. And especially because even DK has access to the 2/3 that prints a taunt, a 1/2 taunt if you have a corpse. Like chewing through 1/1's okay. Chewing through a 1/2, Like you can't just bump patches into it and kill it. Like you gotta bump patches and a dagger into it, and that creates like an added barrier, and you're protecting other targets when you do that. And it's just you could see the deck snowballing. So like that's why I can see this deck working, especially if you're starting to run into a very like this meta is very aggro board centric, which tells me that this deck can work. This dog hunts.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems fun. I'll try it for sure. So
Yeah, I'd want to try
I'm just
it too.
happy to see. Yeah, I'm happy to see the variations on, Wild Death Knight.
Some people have already hit 500, 1,000 wins with Death Knight. Like
Yeah.
Zeddy hit
1,000.
1,000 already.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is nuts to me.
The easiest way to do it is probably duels.
Yeah.
One of the duels heroes is cracked, and duels games in general are faster than any other game mode because by its nature, it's just sort of degenerate.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm at 286, 287, 288.
Holy cow, man! Wow. All right.
I have like 50.
But like the majority of that has come in like standard in the past 4 or 5 days, where it's just like I hit legend, and then I conceded to the bottom of legend, and then I experienced what that was like in standard, and it's very different than it was in wild. But that might be for another show. I don't know. That's an experience in and of itself. So yeah, like these are good. Did Hydra, were you able to include the blood ones I talked about?
Yes. So we got the post from Rice Bowl here.
Yeah, you'll have to tell us about these. And there was some person I didn't. The list looked really good, but I'll have to find it later. But it was some meme post, right? That was 100% win rate, but it was only one game. But like I looked at the list and I was like, this list looks good though.
Soda. That was Soda. He was.
Oh, was right before the China server shut down, huh?
Yes, that was Soda mocking a mediocre post about like mediocre. I guess started an arena run, not arena run. He started a tavern brawl run.
Okay.
A heroic tower brawl run right as it was shutting down, got one win, and then like the run was over.
Oh no!
And so he made like an ironic post about that, and so Soda did the same thing, except getting the last rank 1 legend on the China server as it was shutting down with control DK. So
that's both funny and sad at the same time.
Oh my god, it's so melancholy. Like it's awesome. And like
the list looks good to me though.
I give kudos for pulling it off because it's so cool, but it's also so depressing.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot more Chinese players, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, here it is. Hit rank 1 legend with Death Knight in Hearthstone Wild mode. Key takeaways: Vampiric Blood is busted. Total score was 1-0. The last rank 1 legend before China's server shut down. Overall, my most successful score yet. Play this deck.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome. So what Rice Bowl is going for here is, I think I've been quoted as talking about Blood Death Knight as like control warrior for hipsters.
It is.
It's more interesting, and so his list goes into basically like saying, okay, let's just focus on like hard removal, a little bit of disruption. Does this one even have dirty rats? I think he cut the dirty rats. Like he was just going for like, okay, I'm queuing late at night between rank 600, cough cough, where Nate's at, and like rank 120, 150 opponents. And something that's an epidemic right now in the NA Arts Hearthstone ladder for Wild is the best decks are very easily bottable. So you've got even Shaman bots and Pirate Rogue bots that are playing at probably, anywhere from a 55 to a 51% win rate, which isn't anything special, but they're playing all day and all night.
Yeah.
And they're grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. And now I saw even Shaman bots 2 months ago. That wasn't a big deal. There were enough of them, but it wasn't like very prevalent. But as like right now, with how good the meta is for these decks. The bots are like everywhere, all over top 200. You see them. It's not just one or two that are very noticeable. It's a sea of them. Watching high level streamers like Get Me Out, Martian, Corbett, like you're going to say that anywhere from 40 to 70% of their opponents are arguably robots.
Wow,
It's kind
that's
of
a lot.
it's a
That's
strange time in the format. And so what Rice did was he sat down and said, let me make a control deck that basically farms even shaman bots and pirate rogue bots, and let me queue at 4 a.m. Pacific Pacific time, and just farm them. And absolutely crushed. These decks, like I now, what does that tell me? That tells me if you're stuck between Diamond 5 and Legend, and you get there very early in the month, this is a fantastic deck for that, because you've got a lot of early removal tools, you've got a lot of health regain, Blood Boil attaches a status to all of your opponent's minions who are on the board, where at the end of your turn, it will deal 2 damage to that minion that is lifesteal and is given back to you. So
Yeah, I
these
love
tiny
those
little
cards.
pirate boards get absolutely obliterated, and like you can like gain 10 health and take 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 damage off the board. The top end is the 8 mana 5/5, basically Twisting Nether on a stick. Suck up everything and gain corpses for all the enemies killed.
I love that card.
Patchwork is a house.
Yeah.
Oh my god! So my two favorite combos right now is Brand into Patchwork, and Brand into Alexander Migraine. Yes.
100%.
Because
100%.
dude, they're crazy. Those two are just nasty combos. They're so fun.
Agreed.
Let me eliminate, especially, and that's what gives this deck, like, I personally like I hate to say this, a 40 card version of this deck with Dirty Rats and Bran, because I think it gives you a little bit more play into, a greedier list. Like if you're playing a control list, like if I'm playing against a Shadowwalk Shaman, I know that if I can Brand Patchwork, or if I can Brand Rat, I've got a chance of running them out of resource and just out tempoing them with like a Mograine or two or something like that.
Yeah.
But
and
Patchwork is that good.
your chance of discovering another Mograine or Patchwork is pretty good at the moment. Well, at least in Standard, it's pretty good.
A good while too, because listen, it's the same pool, right? Like, if you're using Hemothurge, the 2 mana discover a blood card, there are only so many blood cards. They're all standard legal, but they're all wild legal. So like you have the same opportunity to discover a second Patchwork or a second Mograine. So that like, instead of dealing 3 damage a turn, I'm dealing 6. I'm dealing 9. Like I like this list. I've played a lot of this list.
I will say
I
actually really like Soda's list. Like I looked at the list and I was like, this doesn't look like that much a bait to me. I mean, it
Pirate Rogue is free.
Yeah.
Well,
even Shaman's a little tougher.
Makes sense.
Because they scale their minions' health up, in my opinion. I'm told I'm wrong by Rice, who says, no, Shaman never kills you in 4 turns. But I feel much more comfortable playing into Pirate Rogues than to even Shaman, because I feel like there are so many early disruption tools and health gain.
Yeah, their board dies to the Blood Boil, where your even Shaman won't, at least not that turn. So,
or you can play a 1/3 and that trades favorably into most pirates.
Yeah.
As opposed to it's never killing a totem unless your opponent is rolling even, idiot totem every single turn.
Once they're top decking, they're basically
Great, perfect.
They're basically screwed once you've cleared their board and they're top decking, right?
100%. Right. Which is why I actually included, that's why this list did well, because it was facing those opponents. So like,
honestly, I'm tempted to try it because I'm at 600 right now. I'd like to get back down to like 300-ish, and so it's not a ton. After the show I'll play some.
I still think you should try it. I still think it's half a turn slow into Even Shaman,
Yeah.
where like sometimes you have the answer and sometimes you don't, and you're like a turn off from having the answer, and you're
Well,
gonna feel it.
that's any
Which
deck though, right? I mean,
not if you play Even Shaman.
oh, well, we could play that. I like No Muncher as well. That card
Very good,
is a
very
beefcake.
good. Sometimes you'd think like it's such a high kill priority. There's no way it lives a turn, but sometimes it does live a turn and it hits face for
Right?
10 life steal.
Yeah, yeah, it's super helpful.
It's so backbreaking into aggro decks. Like so,
Yes.
this deck is basically like this deck is handcrafted to just grief aggro decks. So like that's why
Hmm.
I'm saying like at a low MMR, if you're not expecting a lot of combo, um, but
Are
it's
there
like
any
try
wild
hard
cards
enough.
in it?
What's up?
I said, are there any wild cards in it?
This one? I'm not sure.
No.
I can't.
I don't
I was gonna
I
say
don't see
Bran, but
any.
that's standard right now.
Yeah, we should run the 40 card version with dirty and put dirty rats in it.
Yeah, that's the like the 30 card version running Dirty Rats. I think Dirty Rats and it runs Dirty Rats and Lotheb. I think the XL
Oh,
version.
yeah, you have the one that it says Martian tweaked, bloody Martian tweaked. Is that
That's
it?
my Reno version.
Do you want to talk
That
about
is
Oh.
your tales from the dumpster?
yes, my tales from the quote unquote dumpster. Now, if we switch to this list, so I got a neon tweet for this because it was rank 144 and it was in the middle of the disco lock era. But I still believe in the deck as far as like it's fun. I think it's popular, like this like sort of like this Reno approach to Blood Death Knight where you can leverage the yellow cards. You can still find vampiric blood off of school teacher and get like, plus 10, plus 20, plus 30 health, and then Reno up to 80.
Do I?
And it's like, okay, it's almost like you're playing with Cariel at that point because
Yeah.
like damage is half as important to you as somebody else. Um,
Do I see a
it,
Void Ripper in your list?
I may have put a Void Ripper in there
That's amazing.
because I was trying to extra hate on Even Shaman.
Ah, gotcha.
That's like, and it's actually not all that bad as far as just like, well, if I want to push damage and I'm against combo and I have an armor vendor, let's say, out there, or a body bagger or both, drop Void Ripper, and then all of a sudden, like my 1/3s are 3/1s, and they're a lot more threatening.
Hmm.
I I can't take I can't take credit for that tech. I got that from Lasagna.
Yeah.
He's just like, okay, what if the answer is Void Ripper? Because it does answer a lot of totem boards that don't have any kind of buff to the attack, and it does answer totem boards that are struggling to that let's say it makes a 2/6 a 6/2. That's a lot easier to remove a 6/2.
Yeah.
So like it has some it has some go.
The last time
This
I
is actually
played that card was in Odd Rogue because it was really good to deal with the spreading plagues when you're
I could
versing
see that.
druids.
I most recently played it in a odd paladin list from China
Yeah.
because they were playing Never Surrender. So you were turning your dudes into 1/3s, and then you'd play Void Ripper, and now they were 3/1s for a finisher,
Yeah.
which was cool. So like it's it's not an insignificant effect. It's just strange. But like, when has strange ever stopped me from playing a card? So I do think this list is still a good anti-aggro list. It is Renathal. It has lost a step. It's lost Disco Lock, which was one of its good matchups. Like if you drew Reno, it was very hard to lose against Disco Lock unless they had a very fast draw. It's a lot of life game. There's yellow cards. It's a very fun list. And it is again something like Pirate Rogue. Pirate Rogue is free. Like it's probably closer to like an 80-20 matchup, but the cards are very much stacked against the Pirate Rogue to win against this kind of deck.
There's a lot of pirate rogues out there.
And there's a lot of Pirate Rogues, especially at low MMR, where like I feel like Pirate Rogue is still more popular than even Shaman for whatever reason. Where like people have been playing Pirate Rogue, they still have it in their collection. It's their go-to. It's been good since Sunken City. They're still playing it.
Yeah, I still play it when I play on my free-to-play servers. Queuing up Pirate Rogue, I do it constantly.
Shmoopy Mommy's
it's a
going to be
good
playing
deck.
it next month, probably. Like it's been like Old Faithful for so long, it's hard to walk away from it. It's quickly becoming the aggro deck that's easiest to scam in the meta because like if you can weapon hate Swordfish, or if you can blow up the boards, or if you can outgain the life, or if you can, let's say, like I know a lot of players I found were sitting on their smite, but Patchwork hits a minion on board, a minion on hand, a minion in deck.
Rude.
Like Patchwork on curve is just a smite killer because it just snipes him straight from hand, especially if he's the only pirate left in hand.
Yeah, with
So,
the
like,
one card that's sitting on the far left of your hand that's never been played, that's gonna be smite.
or like we're talking Pirate Rogue here. Like they've been playing their cards. Like that's the only card left in hand.
Yeah.
Turn 7, right? Unless they're trying to set up a scam where they're also trying to do like Corsair into Smite into a second Corsair that's been buffed. Like unless they're really like smart about it, it's the only card left in their hands, and you're getting them.
Mm-hmm.
So like I believe in this deck as an anti-aggro deck. I think it will get you to Legend if you're, let's say you're at Diamond 5 early in the month, you're seeing a lot of aggro decks. This has enough disruption. You can disrupt or greed other greed decks. You can beat aggro decks. Combo decks are tough, but you can kind of get there. Initially, playing this deck made me concede down to the bottom of Wild Legend because I was sick of playing Pillager Rogue. So like it's not great in the combo, but you can win, right? Like you can hit Okani into Lotheb, into Corrupted Ashbringer, and then all of a sudden, oh wow, I made enough damage that they died. So like I believe in this deck.
Sweet. Gives me more options to play DK.
Okay, so for all of the decks that we've talked about tonight, 2 notes. Number 1, so they're in our show notes. If you haven't checked them out before, they're Google Docs on that sit in our
There's one
Google
deck
Drive.
left.
Someone asked for it in chat, so I wanted to post it real quick. But I thought,
Oh,
hey,
sorry. Go ahead.
let me throw this out real quick. I
Do it
think
up,
I
do it
just
up.
shared the right one. I don't know. No, I did. But anyways, the easiest way to find them is to just go to our website. There's a whole there's like a table of all the episodes, and there's links to all the Google Docs for the show notes. And when you go through the show notes, like there's pictures of what we talked about, and then there's all the codes if you want to copy them and paste them into your game. And so if you're listening to this, you're like, oh hey, I want to try out Robobson's even Unholy Death Knight. And where do I find that? Like go to our website, click on the show notes from this episode, and you can copy and paste the code. It's super easy. I mean, we can always post them in chat when we're live, but or in the Discord, but that's like the surefire way to find them. So, anyways, all right, there's my disclaimer. What else did you got for us?
Oh no, so my last little aside was, but the most successful Death Knight deck, probably right now, is the same 30 standard cards for Frost Death Knight between Diamond 5 and Legend. And I've, without disclaiming my source, I have seen so I have seen some data that says that that's like tier 2 right now. So
Wow.
like if you like Frost DK and standard and you like the pattern of play, there's a very good chance you could port over the same 30 cards into Wilds and do very well.
Huh. All right.
Now, I will say, I think there's things I would change about the deck, having played a ton of Frost DK and then also knowing what I know about Wild. Like Frost, Death Knight, and Standard takes off turn 1, turn 2 a lot. Like they love their 1-mana weapon. They love having the 2/2 that draws a Frost spell, but there aren't a lot of turn 1 or turn 2 plays. I don't know if you can necessarily pass like that in Wild and be okay.
Not usually, but
not usually. Which is where I've considered like maybe you cut down some of the discovers in the list. Maybe you cut the school teachers, as good as they are, and you put in something that's like a turn 1 or a turn 2 play. I'm personally considering trying Leper Gnomes and Sand Troopers, like chip damage face, but also minions you're playing turn 1 to at least contest the board.
Those
Because
would be
what the
fun.
deck does, what the deck does do well is it bursts you down consistently from like 20 health on turn 7. So like, can you get to turn 7 in Wild? That's tricky. Does that mean that we end up cutting the nutty, 5-mana the 7-mana frost spell? Does that mean that you can't run the weapon that decreases the cost of spells because a 3-mana 2/3 weapon on 3 is just not really good enough? Maybe. But I actually have high hopes for the archetype as far as like further refinement and like wildification. Like add Lotheb, add Cult Neophytes, add things that slow the game down while still applying pressure to the opponent and making it so that it could even be something as dumb as Haunted Creeper. Like, all right, we throw in Haunted Creeper. Now we've got a 1/2 that trades into pirates favorably. When it breaks, it still kills 1 health pirates. Just something to like speed it up or make it more lethal. The meme answers have been Malagos, which looks DOA, just like not worth it. Overkill, win more.
Yeah.
Emperor Thorson, which is like, I'm sure it's good, but like at the same time, that's 6 mana 5/5 pass your turn when you're probably dying on 6. So like the as good as the standard list looks now, I still think there's wild cards you can add to it, and I think it's going to get cracked at some point by somebody. And it might be one of these Chinese deck builders that are now homeless that have nothing to do but grind NA or EU ladder. But I think we're going to see something come out of Frost, unless there are nerfs in Frost for standard, which feels like there could be because it's a little bit toxic to die from hand from 21 on turn 7 regularly.
It is pretty brutal. But they already preemptively nerfed it, right?
Sure. Yes. They got rid of, you're right, they got rid of the 4 mana, they got rid of our Ice Revenant.
Yeah. Yeah. They must have known.
Which I could see that being pretty toxic.
Because I remember
being
very confused at that nerf, and then it made sense.
Yeah, because like if you had Ice Revenant in hand and you played Horn of Winter, Touch, like Frost Touch, you're talking about +6/+6 in stats. You've frozen 2 things and you've only cheated like 2 mana, but you've made like a 10/11 that they can't deal with.
Yeah.
So like it made sense. I was actually thinking like, what if like, because listen, a lot's been made of Death Knight being underpowered coming out. And like, oh yeah, you can't ban it for Worlds, but like nobody felt comfortable bringing a Death Knight deck for Worlds, so like it didn't get banned. What if the most powerful thing the class could do was basically take a very middle of the road arena card and make it massive? Like that would have been very embarrassing if that was in fact the best thing you could do in the class. So like the nerf made a lot of sense because I could see it being toxic, but also it was kind of like glad they nerfed it because like that wouldn't have been good.
It would have been obnoxious, but I mean, I have to imagine that there's still more balance changes on the way.
Oh,
but I think the
probably.
whole Hearthstone team took the last at least week off for the holiday. I have to imagine we'll probably have something in the next week or two, maybe not. I don't know. I never know.
I mean, it's been far enough away. When do they usually try to? I always feel like I'm surprised by the second round of nerfs for an expansion.
Same.
Like the first is always like 2 weeks in, and then the second is like just before the climb in the second month in the expansion. So it's like almost a new meta. And then the third month is always always like a mini set, right? Like a mini set always drops. So like that's your third climb. And then the fourth climb in an expansion is basically a settled meta. It's had a balance change or two, but it's pretty much done. Like last expansion was weird where we had basically 3 climbs post mini set, which was sort of unheard of. Like, minor balance changes, but Wild, it was basically untouched because for standard it was different because they introduced the nice Frozen Throne characters. the cards. For Wild, it was like we're already playing with those. It's like the same meta. So that's where it was like, last time I was on the show, I was just like, hey, this is really exciting. I get to try and hit Legend with Warlock finally with this one deck.
Well, how many Demon Hunter nerfs did we get in a row, and how far apart were those? Like, wasn't there so
A lot
many?
of those. So some of them were like literally like 12 hours out.
Yeah.
And the ones that come to mind are the I-Beam was nerfed from 0 to 1 so that it didn't break Baku's hero power.
That's right.
And I might be exaggerating how quick it was. It might have been a little bit slower
It
than
was
that.
super fast. Yeah,
It
12
was
hours
super fast.
might be incorrect, but yeah, it was.
Did they hit Altruist hard that quick?
I don't remember if that one was that fast.
I-Beam I remember specifically. I don't remember what was the other one. There's another one that was pretty quick though.
There were a
No, this is
handful
completely different.
Oh yeah,
They
Skull
tried
of Gul'dan was sad for me.
Yes.
That was sad.
That might have
card
been
was
the other
busted.
one that was super quick. I think
From
the
5 to
Hearthstone
6,
dev
right?
team releasing Death Knight wanted to release a balanced class, and in releasing a balanced class, released a class that is a half step behind every other class.
Yep. Well, you like the broken stuff.
Well, like, because like Death Knight does some good stuff. It does some good stuff. I think Jordan MG, I'm quoting here, said like Death Knight has a lot of good ways to spend mana. It doesn't have a lot of broken ways to spend mana. And
Right.
I think the closest thing you get is probably the payoffs in Frost Death Knight and Horn of Winter. So like doing some of the stuff that you can do with that is kind of silly. Like Glacial Advance being a 3-mana deal 4, your next spell costs 1. If I can copy Glacial Advance, I can play, let's see, for 6 mana, I can play 4 Glacial Advances. So for 6 mana, I can deal 16.
Yeah.
That seems okay.
The one thing
That seems good.
I do find with Death Knight is sometimes I just have, like, it could be mid to late in the game, and I just have the worst hand. I could have a full hand, and I feel like I've got nothing to do sometimes.
Depends on your deck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Blood, if it's like a slower deck.
Sure.
Like I feel like I could just sit there and I've got I've got 8 mana, but I'll just hero power.
Yeah, Blood can almost be like odd warrior that way.
Yeah.
That's why I almost if you're playing if you know in your heart of heart that what you are queuing into is going to be aggro, pure blood, duplicates, DK, I think is the way to go. I think if you're seeing a more varied field, I think you're better off doing a more wild, inspired version of like a Reno blood DK.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be my list. Like I tuned my list to be like, okay, if I was to hit day 1 10x with this deck, this is what I would build. This is what I would expect to see. I'd expect to see, 60% even shaman, 30% pirate rogues, and then 10% whatever else is trying to farm those guys, or like shadow priest or whatever, which I would clean up with that deck anyway. Like that's what I would expect to see with that deck. That's what that deck is queued up for. But it has at least enough. The Reno version has enough greed and flexibility to deal with other lists, as opposed to the full control version, which is all in on let me farm aggro.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like a good day 1 deck, actually.
it's an awesome day 1 deck. Post D5, I would get to Diamond 5 first, then play it. Otherwise, you're climbing too slowly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not gonna. You're never gonna reach if you get to Diamond 5 with a 10x bonus. I promise you're going to see 80% aggro. That's who's up there.
Yeah.
So play aggro up to Diamond 5. Make the switch to a control deck. That's a fine choice. It's as good a choice as any other I can think of. You want to play Odd Warrior? Fine, play Odd Warrior. But I think Death Knight, specifically because of the Discover options, gives you more flexibility than something like Odd Warrior would.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go full control and swap, do that. And that's what I would do. So I'm probably just going to play Even Shaman, because Even Shaman's broke right now.
It's pretty broke. I'm not going to lie.
It's just a little bit faster than everything else.
It really is, isn't it?
Why? Okay, I missed. I think I ran to the restroom or something. Why do you have a Void Ripper in here?
We did talk about that.
No, I know, I
So
know.
Nate,
I mean, I caught the tail end of it, and I remember days when we took like you'd have like a 1-3, and now it's a 3-1, right? But like,
it has two functions. The first function is it's even shaman hate,
okay,
right? Like if imagine Void Ripper into an even shaman board.
Yeah,
it's
especially
the
if they haven't
only
buffed anything, everything's dead.
it's the only card I don't have golden in this list. It's so irritating.
Well, I mean, like take it out, put something else in.
You
But
don't have a golden
it's
Void Ripper?
specifically set up for even shaman hate. This deck is like a thoroughbred for trying to hit day one legend on a 10x, right? Like I'm gonna see a sea of even shaman bots, and
Yeah.
you know, as Yogg is my witness, I'm not gonna lose to a single gosh darn one of them. Let me put in my Void Ripper, and it's been fine. And honestly, it's been okay because I run a lot of 1-3s, don't I? And if I need to apply pressure, or if I need to, like start turning it on a combo deck, like all of a sudden it's like break points are different. I'm a pushing more damage. Even buff totems, like you throw down a void ripper. Now, like my 1 mana deal 3 damage removal is suddenly relevant again. My hero power is relevant again. So like it's
Oh,
even shaman.
yeah.
Same with the broom. Same with the 4 mana like broom. Like let me deal 2 to everything. Like let me make it as uncomfortable for the even shaman as possible. If I thought that waste warden was worth, it would find a spot in here. That one is it's a 5 mana 3/3, deal 3 mana to a minion and every other minion of its type. Like if you want to put that in, like you might accidentally have a waste warden in gold. Throw that in. Like just set up all the clears, make it as tough for them to get on board as possible, make it as tough. Like I've had people concede to Void Ripper, which is hysterical to me.
That is
That's
hysterical.
awesome.
It's like all right, I got the tilt concede. They were like 5 wide, everything at 0 attack. Void Ripper concede. Okay, sounds good. Like just like this deck hates, and that's what you have to do in this meta right now, because Pirate Rogue and even Shaman are prevalent enough that you can't exist unless you can beat those decks.
Yeah. No, that makes
Piloted by robots.
sense. Well, good deck is gonna do good things. So
Good deck will hunt.
well, we have some homework then.
Yeah.
Actually, really good timing with the month about to roll over. So some fun new things to play, and as Sheep will be out for about a month, we may have to pull you back next week if you're not busy.
I'm never busy.
Oh gosh, you could keep us
That-
honest and see if
sounds
we
good.
played our death knights here.
Yeah, check in on us. See if we played these lists.
I will
Right.
try to hit legend and then play with all those lists on my way into the dumpster or in the dumpster. I might just lose patience with it and just concede all the way down and be like, all right, whatever. Enough of this. We'll see.
Good times. Well, I mean, I think that pretty much wraps it up for the show proper, unless you guys have anything else that you want to chat about before we call it, and then if anyone wants to play any games, we can do that. But yeah, no. Did we
No,
miss
I
anything?
think
No,
we got it all.
listen, I think it's a big steal. It's a big story right now that like that the aggro decks are so good that the bots are so prevalent, especially in wild. Definitely having an impact on ladder. It's definitely having an impact on stattings and ladder. I'm reporting every single one that I see with the new report function. I hope those reports go someplace. I know Blizzard tends to do these things in waves, so I'm not panicking. But right now, the environment is what it is. If you want to ride the wave, you're going to have to just understand that that's what the environment is right now, and understand the reality and go from there.
Yeah. Well, is what it is.
Is what it is.
You know, wiser words were never spoken.
And you heard that on
Born to be wild.